There's a moment, right before she falls asleep, when her guard drops. And if you know exactly what to say in that moment, you don't just enter her thoughts, you take up residence there. Men don't realize this. They think women only overthink after arguments, or when they're uncertain, or when the relationship feels unstable. But the truth is, a woman's most vulnerable psychological window is at night, when the world is quiet, her mind slows down, and the emotional part of her brain takes over. And the words you send her right before that moment, they echo through her entire night. They shape the way she dreams, the way she wakes up, and the way she sees you the next morning. But here's the part no one tells you. Most men blow this opportunity without even knowing it. They send dry, goodnight messages, shallow emojis, or rushed texts with zero emotional weight. And she reads them, nods to herself, and thinks, okay, he's the same as everyone else. What she doesn't tell you is this. She wants to feel something, not drama, not intensity for the sake of chaos. She wants emotional certainty. She wants to feel chosen, not accidentally included. And when a man sends the right kind of goodnight text, it taps into a part of her psychology that makes her replay it over and over. She lies there wondering why your presence feels different, why your words land deeper, why she suddenly wants more of you, even if she didn't earlier. This isn't manipulation. This is connection through intention. Because the truth is, every man sends a goodnight text, but very few men send a text that makes her pause, inhale, and smile to herself in the dark. And that moment, right there, is where you win her emotional attention long before the competition even wakes up. There are 3 reasons why a goodnight text can become so powerful for her. First, nighttime amplifies emotion. When she's winding down, her analytical brain gets quieter and her emotional brain gets louder. This means your words hit her differently at night than they do during the day. Second, women remember how you make them feel more than what you say. If your text carries genuine warmth, care, or a hint of masculine presence, she attaches an emotional imprint to you. And third, consistency builds desire. Not clinginess, not desperation, just steady, thoughtful presence. When she notices that you don't disappear, that you communicate with intention, she unconsciously categorizes you as a man with emotional maturity. And that's rare. That's magnetic. But before you ever send a goodnight text that keeps her thinking about you, you need to understand the deeper psychology behind it. Because the best texts don't come from copying lines. They come from reading her emotional landscape and responding in a way that makes her feel seen without overwhelming her. She doesn't want a paragraph. She doesn't want a poem. She doesn't want exaggerated love when you're not even there yet. What she wants is sincerity wrapped in subtlety, confidence wrapped in warmth, and presence wrapped in mystery, just enough to make her wonder what it would feel like to fall asleep on your chest instead of behind a screen. And once you learn how to activate that feeling, once you understand what kind of message triggers that soft smile she hides under the blankets, you stop being just another guy in her notifications. You become the last thought she has before drifting off, and the first thought she wakes up with. Tell me in the comments, what's the one goodnight text you've sent that actually got a deep reaction from her? And if you want more insight like this, like the video, subscribe, and share this with a friend who needs it. There's a reason women replay certain messages in their minds long after the screen goes dark. It's not because the words were poetic, it's because they triggered a specific emotional frequency she's wired to respond to. Most men think they need charm, humor, or overly romantic lines to make an impact. But the truth is, the messages that stay in her mind all night are the ones that make her feel safe, desired, and unexpectedly understood. See, a woman's emotional world is built on subtle cues, tone, timing, intention. And when a man sends a goodnight text that hits the right emotional note, it does something powerful. It quiets her anxieties and awakens her curiosity at the same time. And nothing, absolutely nothing, makes a woman think about you longer than the combination of safety and curiosity. Imagine her lying there, phone on the pillow beside her. She reads your message, and instead of scrolling away, her mind starts creating a mental version of you, your energy, your voice, your presence. That happens because the right goodnight text doesn't feel like a closing line. It feels like an emotional doorway you opened just enough for her to step through in her imagination. But here's what almost every man gets wrong. They try too hard. They over-message. They overshare. They send long paragraphs that feel heavy. Or they send nothing at all, thinking that silence makes them look mysterious. It doesn't. Silence rarely creates mystery. It creates uncertainty. And uncertainty in a woman's mind doesn't turn into attraction, it turns into confusion. What actually gets her thinking is controlled warmth, words that sound like you're relaxed, grounded, attentive, but never needy. A woman notices immediately when a man texts from anxiety versus when he texts from presence. Those messages have a different feel. One pulls energy from her, the other gives energy to her. And here's the deeper psychology. When you send a goodnight text, you're not communicating information. You're communicating emotional rhythm. You're showing her how it feels to be connected to you. Are you stable? Are you thoughtful? Are you confident? Are you the type of man she could let her guard down with? She reads all of that between the lines, even if the message itself is short. That's why I want you to understand this next part clearly. A goodnight text is never really about the night. It's about the emotional imprint that lingers into the morning. Because when she wakes up with your text still on her mind, something shifts. Her day starts with your presence already planted in her thoughts. You become familiar without being predictable, comforting without being soft, intentional without being intense. And that balance, it's something very few men know how to create. Think about the last time a woman kept thinking about you. It wasn't because you said something dramatic, it was because you left her with a sensation, something she couldn't quite explain but didn't want to shake off. A goodnight text that's crafted with subtle confidence does exactly that. It gives her a feeling she wants to return to, a feeling she hopes you send again, a feeling that makes her wonder, why does this man feel different? And here's the secret no one tells you. Once you become the man she thinks about before falling asleep, you become the man she naturally gravitates toward emotionally. You become a part of her nighttime ritual, and that is far more intimate than most men ever realize. Now tell me, what's the biggest mistake you feel men make in late-night texting? Drop your answer in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with a friend who needs to hear it. Most men think a goodnight text is just a polite ending to the day, but for a woman, it's a psychological mirror. It reflects who you are, how you feel, and what role you might play in her emotional world. And the moment she reads that final message before bed, she isn't just reacting to your words. She's evaluating your energy. She's assessing whether you're a man who brings calm or chaos, presence or pressure, confidence or emotional noise. Because here's the truth. Women feel emotional energy before they analyze it. A man can send the same sentence, "Good night, sleep well," and it can land in completely different ways depending on his internal state. If he sends it with anxiety, hoping she replies, she feels it. If he sends it to try and impress her, she feels it. If he sends it because he wants reassurance, she feels it. But when a man sends it from ease, when he's steady, composed, not chasing, she feels that too. And that's the one that pulls her in. This is why the most effective goodnight messages are simple, grounded, and carry a warmth that doesn't try to prove anything. They don't feel like a test. They don't demand a response. They don't pressure her into giving something back. They're just a subtle reminder of your presence, a gentle emotional tap on her shoulder that makes her feel chosen without feeling overwhelmed. And you need to understand something powerful about female psychology. Nighttime is when imagination becomes 10 times stronger. During the day, she's logical, focused, busy, distracted. But at night, she's emotional, reflective, and far more receptive to subtle connection. A small compliment hits deeper. A moment of appreciation feels more intimate. A little hint of desire becomes a spark that stays with her. Women are intuitive. She can sense when your message is coming from a man who's centered. She can sense when you're not chasing, not trying too hard, not performing. That's when you stand out from every other guy who floods her phone with dry texts, predictable lines, or forced charm. You don't need to be smooth, you just need to be emotionally clean. And that's the part most men don't realize. The moment she feels safe with your energy, she naturally becomes more open to you. It lowers her guard. It makes her curious. It makes her wonder what it would feel like to be close to you, not just through a screen, but in real life. She begins imagining herself in your presence, not because you asked her to, but because your emotional tone created a mental doorway she walked through on her own. That's why the best goodnight texts aren't about impressing her. They're about leaving a feeling that lingers after the conversation is over, a feeling she carries with her as she falls asleep, a feeling she wakes up with the next day and thinks, why does he make me feel this calm? Why does he feel so different? When you master that emotional presence, even the simplest message can impact her. It can shift her perception of you. It can make her see you not as another man, but as a man who understands emotional timing, emotional tone, and emotional leadership. And once she experiences that, you stop competing with other men entirely. You're already in a different category. Tell me this, what kind of goodnight message do you think makes the strongest impact? Warm and sincere, or mysterious and subtle? Drop your answer below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs it. There's a specific type of goodnight text that keeps a woman awake longer than she intended. Not because it's dramatic, not because it's poetic, but because it creates an emotional imprint she can't shake off. And the truth is, these texts work because they activate something deep inside her. The desire to feel connected to a man who is steady, intentional, and emotionally aware. A woman will think about your message all night when it makes her feel seen without being overwhelmed, desired without being objectified, and close to you without losing her independence. That balance is rare, and that rarity is what makes your message echo in her mind long after she sets her phone down. So what kinds of messages actually do this? Sometimes it's something as simple as, "Good night. I hope you fall asleep feeling appreciated tonight." She reads that, and something inside her softens. Because appreciation is a psychological trigger for women, it hits deeper than compliments. Any man can call her pretty, but appreciation? That tells her you notice her character, her effort, her presence. And when she feels appreciated, she naturally thinks more about the person who made her feel that way. Another type is the emotionally grounding message. Something like, "Rest well tonight. You deserve a peaceful mind." That sentence tells her you see her inner world, not just her outer beauty. It tells her you understand that she carries stress, pressure, responsibilities, and that you're not adding to them, you're removing them. This shifts her perception of you from someone in her phone to someone in her emotional space. A man who brings peace instead of noise stands out more than any flashy line or overconfident flirt. Then there's the subtly intimate message, not sexual, not dramatic, but evocative in a quiet way. A message like, "Sleep well. If you were here, I'd tell you that in person." It's gentle, it's calm. It hints at closeness without forcing it. It plants an image in her mind, one she didn't expect, but doesn't want to dismiss. And when a woman starts visualizing you, imagining you, picturing you, that is when the emotional bond begins to form. But here's the most important thing you must understand. It's not just the message itself, it's your energy behind it. Did you send it because you genuinely wanted her to sleep well, or because you wanted a reaction from her? She can feel the difference instantly. Women have emotional radar. They can sense when a man is texting with tension, hoping she'll validate him. They can sense when he's texting to fill silence. They can sense when he's trying to be deep, trying to be impressive, trying to be unforgettable. That energy repels her more than any wrong words ever will. But when you text with emotional composure, when your message feels like it came from a man who is already complete, already steady, already grounded, she leans toward that energy. It relaxes her, it intrigues her, it makes her feel safe enough to be soft. And that softness is what creates attraction at a level most men never access. Because yes, she will think about your message all night, but even more important, she will think about you, your tone, your presence, the emotional space you create. You become the warm thought she returns to when her mind quiets down. And once a woman begins associating nighttime peace with your presence, even through text, you've already entered a part of her heart that no other man has reached. Tell me this. Which type of goodnight text feels most natural for you to send right now? Write your answer in the comments and make sure to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it tonight. There's a moment, usually just a few seconds after she reads your goodnight text, when her entire emotional world shifts. She locks her phone, but her mind stays open. She turns off the light, but the glow of your message stays lit somewhere inside her. And this is where the real psychology begins, because what she feels in those quiet, unfiltered moments is the truth she won't say out loud. She thinks about the way you worded your message. She thinks about why it felt different from the others. She thinks about the tone, the intention, the warmth, and the part of her that's been guarded suddenly loosens just a little. Because your text didn't feel random, it didn't feel like a routine. It felt intentional, and intention is one of the strongest forms of masculine energy a woman responds to. Most men don't understand how rare that is. They think showing interest is the same as showing presence, but it isn't. Interest is easy, presence is powerful, interest is temporary, presence is memorable. And when your goodnight text carries presence, she interprets it as emotional reliability, something every woman secretly longs for but rarely receives. This is why she replays your message in her mind, not because of the exact words, but because of what those words implied. A goodnight text from a grounded man tells her, "You matter enough for me to slow down and speak to you with intention." A woman feels that deeper than you think. And here's something most men never realize. A late-night message doesn't attract her because it gives her attention. It attracts her because it gives her security. Security that you're not playing games. Security that you don't disappear after showing interest. Security that you're consistent but not clingy. Security that you know how to express warmth without losing your strength. This emotional safety you create becomes the foundation for attraction. When she feels safe, she becomes soft. When she becomes soft, she becomes receptive. And when she becomes receptive, she naturally moves toward you instead of away from you. Your goodnight text is the bridge between your masculine calm and her feminine emotion. But here's the secret no one tells you. The goal is not to make her obsessed. The goal is to make her comfortable enough to desire you on her own. That's the difference between boys and men. Boys chase attention. Men create atmosphere. Boys try to impress. Men create emotional space. Boys hope she thinks about them. Men give her a reason to. And when your goodnight messages are crafted from that deeper place, not from anxiety, not from loneliness, not from performance, but from calm masculine intention, she feels it, she absorbs it, she attaches to it. And that emotional attachment doesn't happen loudly. It happens quietly, privately, in the dark. When she's lying in bed with nothing but her thoughts, her heartbeat, and the last message you sent echoing softly in her mind. That is how you become the man she thinks about all night. Not through intensity, not through pressure, but through presence. Presence is everything. So the next time you send her a goodnight text, don't think of it as an ending. Think of it as planting a feeling inside her, a feeling she'll carry with her until morning, and a feeling that makes her look forward to hearing from you again. Before you go, tell me this. What's your biggest challenge when texting a woman at night? Drop your answer in the comments and make sure to like, subscribe, and share this with a friend who needs this advice right now.